What's up, guys? We are live for AMA Wednesday. This one's part of our Genius series, which hopefully all you guys know about by now. But if not, the Genius series is something we're doing throughout 2018, where each month we focus on a different topic that you guys told us you wanted to learn more about. So this month we're focusing on product sourcing. This is a live AMA, so drop your questions in the chat box wherever you're tuning in from. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. I'll be here for about the next 45 minutes. While we wait for some of the questions to pile in to the chat box, I have a few quick slides for you guys, and then we will jump right over to the slides then we'll jump right over to the questions that you guys are putting in the chat box. So the Genius series, this is a crash course becoming a private label seller. We are putting this into bite-sized chunks so anyone can learn how to sell private label products on Amazon. Like I said, each month we're focusing on a different topic. This month we are focusing on the product research phase, and the questions that I'm gonna focus on answering today are about product research, so try to put that type of question into the chat box. A lot of you guys know this, but let's talk about like big picture what we're looking for when we are sourcing products to sell on Amazon, okay? Back in the day, before Jungle Scout, before there was tools out there to help you, you had to kind of like guess what you think might sell well on Amazon, and it's much more scientific than that now, okay? So we're looking for products that have existing high demand on Amazon, all right? Now that we have Jungle Scout and tools like Jungle Scout exist, we can figure out exactly how much these products are selling on Amazon. So gone are the days where we're trying to guess what might be selling well. We can just sell the products that we know will sell well because they have high demand on Amazon, okay? We're looking for products with low competition. So of course, there's tons and tons of products that have tons of demand on Amazon, but we're looking for those ones that have high demand with low competition. And yes, there are plenty of those out there, and I'll go over how to help you find those. We of course want good margins. I prefer products priced over $18. Ideally, your product has low seasonality, okay? So if you're selling inflatable Easter bunnies, okay? These are only gonna sell for like 2 months in the springtime, kind of like leading up to Easter, right? Same thing with Christmas lights or other items like that. And it's hard to build a business selling items like that. So we like items with low seasonality. Of course, we want something with no legal issues, all right? Lightweight and small is preferred because it's easier to ship from China or wherever you're sourcing these products from. And the one in the bottom right there that I'm kind of blocking my video says you can improve the product, okay? And this one I think is becoming more and more important as there's more and more sellers on Amazon. And what I mean by that is, like, we'll take this glass for example, finding products where we're reading the bad reviews, they're not getting very good reviews, and we're finding items that can improve. So maybe if I were to read this, some things might be as simple as saying, hey, this glass like arrived at my house broken, so I'm leaving a 1-star review. And what I mean by improvements, you can actually just do something as simple as like improving the packaging for that particular product, and then your item will get better reviews than some of your competitors, all right? These are some of the questions that you guys had put in the comments on the blog before, so we can go over these real quick while we're waiting for more questions to put in the chat box, even though I know there's already a bunch of them. Is private label still the best way to make money on Amazon? My answer to that is yes, okay? When we think about it, Amazon is, I think tons and tons of people agree that this is like still the best opportunity for entrepreneurs to get started with a business, okay? So Amazon is alive and well, it's working very well still. And if you think about all the different ways to kind of like source products to sell on Amazon, there's like the whole arbitrage thing where we could be buying products from a liquidation store or Walmart or Target, whatever else. That's not a very like scalable solution, right? It's still kind of like a job where you have to go out and spend time finding these products, and then like you run out of supply or whatever. I could purchase them from wholesalers like Sony and like Black & Decker and like whatever else. The problem with that is, you're selling on the same listings as everyone else. You're competing for that buy box, and it's unlikely that you as a kind of just a small time Amazon seller is going to get good enough pricing to really compete with those people. So then that leaves us with like kind of our last option, what's commonly referred to as private label option, and that's getting the products straight from the factory. And I'm not talking about inventing a new product and then going out and finding a factory to create this product for you, but instead you find products that are already being manufactured. And again, this glass would be a great example, right? Like some factory in China is already making this glass. I'm just going to purchase it from this factory and private label it. So I'm going to put my brand on it, and then I'm going to sell it on Amazon. And a huge benefit of that is then you have your own listing on Amazon, okay? So the answer to that is yes, private label is still the best way to make money on Amazon. Is selling on Amazon as easy as when you got started, or has it gotten a lot harder? All right. And this kind of goes into option 2, okay? The question number 3. Question 2 and 3, we'll kind of roll those in together. Like, is finding product still the same? And my answer to this is, when I first got started, there were many less sellers on Amazon, okay? So it was less competitive. But also back then, there was pretty much no information about how to sell on Amazon. So I had to learn all this stuff the hard way, all right? There was also nothing like Jungle Scout to be able to verify product or product demand, so that made it much harder. So I don't know if it's necessarily gotten harder, even though it's gotten more competitive, because, like Jungle Scout exists now, and it's much more advanced. It's much more, easy to find these products, like using the technology. And like the education, like the Genius series, didn't used to exist. So this makes it so much easier now for new people to learn this, learn how to do this. So maybe I'd say overall, all things got considered, maybe it's gotten 10% more difficult, 20% more difficult. I don't know, but it's still a tremendous opportunity at the end of the day. All right. I just want to talk about this real quick. All right. What I prefer, and what you're going to hear me kind of preach about and everything, it refers to this left method here, like the logic method. All right. When we're talking about the logic method versus kind of the passion method, I'm a huge believer in using the data to show us what's going to work well for us on Amazon. Okay. So I much prefer kind of the logic method as far as using the data, using the demand data and the competition data and opportunity scores and everything else to reduce the risk of failure and increase the chance of really succeeding on Amazon. Okay. So that's what I really prefer. A lot of people talk about kind of wanting to sell the items that they're passionate about. And this does have some benefits. Maybe this makes you just care about your business more, makes it more fun for you. And, all those things are important at the end of the day as well. But the thing about that is a lot of times I'll see people sell items that don't have much demand or is super competitive, and they just want to sell it because they're passionate about it. So that's something you have to be really careful of, all right? I'm just going to go over this real quick because I want to jump into the questions because I know there's tons of them. How big of a deal is it to innovate? And then again, these are questions that we've gotten on our blog. How big of a deal is it to innovate and improve your products? I would say that this is becoming more and more important, and I'm a big fan of it. So I would encourage everyone watching this to try to innovate or improve the products. And that's as simple as finding products that are selling well, even though they get poor reviews, reading those poor reviews and finding what the customer wants changed in that particular product. Okay. So that's, I'd say that's a big deal. Which category should I stick with when starting out? The only thing that I recommend to people when they're first starting out is I would recommend selling in a category that you don't have to get ungated for, okay? And what I mean by that is when you sign up for a brand new account on Amazon, some categories you have to get Amazon's approval to let you sell in that particular category, okay? It's usually not that difficult, although sometimes people do run into problems when doing that. However, that's just one extra hurdle. And when you're starting out a new business, so much of it's mental that you really want the least amount of hurdles as possible getting started. So I would recommend selling in the categories that don't require getting ungated, all right? Does it make more sense to pick products that have the good numbers or products that you're more passionate about? Again, I just kind of talk about this, but I'm a big fan of going off the data and the metrics as opposed to kind of just what you're passionate about. It's important to understand kind of the cost when you're calculating the margins, and we have a lot more written about this on the blog. We've listed out a few of them here just to hopefully kind of jog your memory of all the different things that you might run into when you're kind of calculating the costs. And these are questions that we get a lot. How much does it really cost to launch a product on Amazon? We wrote a great blog post about this about a year ago, but I would say if you don't have $2,000 to invest in the business, I probably wouldn't launch a private label product on Amazon. I would probably start off with retail arbitrage to make some money or something else. If you only, there's lots and lots of success stories of people who only had like $500, but the way I prefer to do it and the way I like to kind of like go about it with like a larger launch and stuff, you really need like a couple $1,000s to get started. Another thing that we're seeing more and more often is, what do you think about Kickstarter? And Kickstarter is great. I think that's a great way, especially if you're finding a product, you're making improvements to it, and it's like this new enhanced version of your product, then I think Kickstarter is a great way to raise funds for your product and, like help kind of prove that demand as well. So drop your question. I'm going to start. I know they're already in here. Put your questions in the chat box. I am going to start answering some of these questions because that's the whole point of doing this AMA. I want to help answer any questions you guys have and remove any of those hurdles, because I know as an entrepreneur, a lot of the times it's just like one little question that's kind of holding you back. All right. Sorry. Wasn't supposed to play that video. All right. 2 quick announcements before I answer these questions. We are hiring. There are a lot of open positions at Jungle Scout. We are growing very quickly and we need more help. junglescout.com/jobs. There's openings available in marketing, design, engineering, and customer support. Go there if you're interested in working for Jungle Scout. We have offices in Vancouver, Canada, in Austin, in Texas, in the US, as well as most of our jobs you're able to work remotely. So if you're interested in working with the coolest company in the world, junglescout.com/jobs. One other quick announcement. We're starting a new podcast soon called Go Pitch Win, Shark Tank style podcast, where you can pitch your product to myself and one other guest judge. At the end of each season, 1 out of 10 people will be selected for a $10,000 prize to help them launch their product or business. Find out about it at junglescout.com/podcast and enter to pitch your idea to me. All right, jumping into the questions. Can you please explain the new opportunity score in the Jungle Scout extension? What's a good score to go for? This one's on YouTube. The opportunity score is a way that we are calculating what we kind of like estimate the opportunity to be, okay? So it's on a scale of 1 through 10 in the extension. 10's the best, but that's extremely rare. 1's the worst, okay? And obviously it's a linear scale from there. So if you find something, this isn't the end all be all score, but this is like a great way to help you gauge whether or not this is a good opportunity for you. Opportunity scores of 6, 7, 8, those are typically good opportunities, or at least opportunities that you want to pursue further. And what the opportunity score is calculating is like, what's the ratio of like demand versus competition? And it factors in a few other little things as well, but that's going to be like the main thing. So what it doesn't know is if the margins are good for this product, because it doesn't know, like what your sourcing price for that product is. Okay. All right, another one, YouTube. Hey, Greg, I don't understand the BSR and how it should impact my decision about what product to choose. Can you please talk about that a little bit? I'd be happy to. BSR stands for best sellers rank. Almost all products on Amazon have a best sellers rank. Most of them have a best sellers rank in their parent category. And this means if you have like a BSR or best sellers rank of, this mouse here has like probably a BSR of like 1,000 in computers and accessories. All right. So this is the 1,000th best seller in that particular category. All right. Now, before tools like Jungle Scout, there was all kinds of rules of thumb, like, oh, you should try to sell products to like 1,000 BSR or less, or blah, 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 blah. But the truth of the matter is, BSR in itself is not very helpful, especially when you're just starting out, because it varies so much from category to category. Like a BSR of 1,000 in sports and outdoors sells extremely well, like 10,000 units a month probably, because that's a very big category with a lot of volume. A BSR of 1,000 in like appliances probably only sells like 50 a month. So to answer your question, how should it impact my decision about what product to choose? The only way it should impact your decision, in my opinion, is to use the BSR to figure out, how well that product sells. So you can go to like junglescout.com/estimator. It's a totally free tool. You can put in the best sellers rank in there, and then we'll tell you approximately how many units that item's selling every month. All right. All right. Another one from YouTube. I'm in Canada. How accurate is the data of the Canadian market? Some sales figures show less than 5 while they are high in the rankings with a good rating. Okay. Our estimated sales for the Canadian market is high quality. It's pretty darn accurate. The Canadian marketplace on Amazon is much smaller than the US market, okay? So you have to keep that in mind. I think that's the reason that, you're probably looking at products in the Canadian market, comparing it to the US market, and you see they're much lower. So hopefully that helps. On YouTube, Tim Austin says, is it appropriate when sourcing to mention to one supplier that another supplier is giving you a better deal and to mention the suppliers by name? I think mentioning another supplier's price is a solid negotiating tactic. Personally, I don't think I would mention the other supplier's name, but if you feel like that's appropriate, you could. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question. You could say like, hey, I like working with you better. You seem to respond to my questions better, and it's really easy to communicate with you and everything else. But they're giving me, it's 50 cents cheaper, so I kind of have to go with them. That's something you could say and use that as a negotiating tactic. All right, Linda on YouTube says, I would like to know how to get Amazon to respond with more details when you're not approved to sell in a restricted subcategory. Thanks, Jungle Scout is awesome. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate the kind words. Amazon is very frustrating to deal with. It sounds like you figured this out by now because you will ask them questions and it's very clear that they're just sending you like this generic saved reply, right? And to directly answer your question, unfortunately, it's pretty much impossible to get Amazon to respond with more details. I think a lot of them aren't allowed to give you more details. And they're also probably graded on kind of like how many tickets they're responding to every hour. So they don't want to sit there and write you out like this long drawn out response. So unfortunately, it can be extremely frustrating, but they probably will not give you more details when you're not approved to sell in that subcategory. On Facebook, Mariam says, some recommendations for launching, please. Sure. Something to keep in mind when you're launching a product is you need sales velocity. You need sales on Amazon. Before you get sales through that listing, your listing is just lost on like the last page of Amazon, okay? Once it starts to get sales, that's when you start moving up the rankings. So you're kind of left with the chicken and the egg problem, right? Without sales, you're not ranking well. Without ranking well, you're not getting sales. So what do? Well, there's, in my opinion, the two best ways to launch a product are through aggressive PPC spend on Amazon's platform and through giving away coupons, okay? Jungle Scout has a tool called JumpSend. You can find it at jumpsend.com, and it is a marketplace for you to give out coupons for people who are interested in purchasing your product. So what you can do is you can create some coupons, you can put them on JumpSend, and on JumpSend, there's tens of thousands of bargain shoppers, bargain hunters, that are there looking for coupons, okay? So this is a great way to give away coupons, for people to receive your coupons, use that coupon to purchase through Amazon, okay? And then as a result, your product will begin to rank better over time, all right? So that's what those are some recommendations I have for launching. All right, Pierre on YouTube says, when you have variations of an item, is it a good idea to use different keywords for each child? Yes. I would recommend, all right, so for example, if this, or we'll use our hooded baby towels as an example. We have different colors, right? So we have like blue, we have pink, we have white, and we have gray now, all right? So some examples of different keywords that I use for different variations are, I definitely call out the color, all right? So like, because some people will search, and I see this like on my PPC report, some people will search pink baby towel. And then I want our pink baby towel to be the one that shows up in the results there. So that's one thing that's very good. To use keywords that describe your product. So same thing if it's like a different size or a different style, like our gray one's like an elephant. So we have elephant in there because some people search for elephant baby towel. So to answer your question, there's like a bunch of the keywords will be the same, but I also try to use whatever descriptions I can of that particular variation because oftentimes people do search for that. On YouTube, David Mitchell says, when ordering from overseas manufacturers, how do you find a good freight forwarder to receive on-time shipping? Is Alibaba reputable in that department? No, I would not recommend. I don't think there's even freight forwarders on Alibaba, but I wouldn't recommend them, okay? So For finding a freight forwarder, all right, you could use something. So some of the popular ones are like Flexport, so flexport.com. Shapiro is a pretty popular one, and both these guys are used to working, or both these companies are used to working with Amazon sellers, and they're used to importing things from China. You can simply just do a Google search for freight forwarder. There's a service called Freightos, so it's like just like freight with OS on the end. Freightos is, you can kind of think of it as like the kayak search engine or the Orbits or whatever, like for freight forwarders. So you enter like your specifications and they get you a bunch of price quotes from different freight forwarders. That's one way to go about it. So you could probably get the best price if you go about it that way. But yeah, I would recommend doing that as opposed to using like the freight forwarder that your factory recommends. All right. Jorge on YouTube says, thank you for this free podcast. I've been implementing a lot of your lessons and it's working great. Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. On YouTube, Brian says, as a first timer, is it important to ship straight to Amazon or by shipping to yourself and storing most of the goods, then shipping to Amazon when your sales pick up? So I always ship my goods straight to Amazon, but that's because I don't want to deal with this product. I don't want to unload all these boxes. I don't have anywhere to store them, but maybe you have a garage or someone else you can store them. A lot of first timers do like to ship it to their house because, quite honestly, it's just like, it's fun, right? You just spent like a couple $1,000 to order 500 units of XYZ widget, right? It's like kind of fun to see those for the first time and get to hold them in your hand and know what you spent your money on. It also gives you a chance to inspect for quality. So that's just like fun for a lot of people. And then you put another good point on there that if you do have a place to store it, like a garage or something else, you can store it there and ship them to Amazon like in smaller amounts to make sure, or lessen the chance you get hit with some of the larger storage fees. So that's really up to you. If you want to see your products and you have somewhere to store them, then go ahead and ship them to yourself. If you would prefer to save a little bit of money and you don't want to deal with all the boxes, then you can ship them straight into Amazon. All right, Marina on YouTube said, hello, what is your recommendation for avoiding a product being stuck in US Customs? Unfortunately, there's usually not a lot you can do about this, okay? US Customs will randomly select items to do like deeper or further inspections to. It's unfortunate, but there's not a whole lot you can do about it. One tip I do have for you is, for example, if it's like a product that comes into contact with food or drink, it does need to be like FDA approved. Okay, so you would want to make sure to get that before then because they'll ask for that in the US Customs. So that's a little tip I have. Mohammed on Facebook said, I started my business with your help to find a product. Now with the Amazon campaign, it's eating my profit. Now, should I order a second shipment or change to a second product from your hunt emails you send? Okay, so I definitely wouldn't ditch your first product yet, okay? I would look at optimizing your PPC campaigns because that's what you said is eating away your profit, or you could potentially try to turn those off altogether and then see what your sales or profits are after doing that. So that's an option. Yeah, so I wouldn't give up on your first product yet because there's always like optimizations you can make to your products. You know, you can split test using a tool like Splitly to check a different main image or a different price or something else. But yeah, I would recommend to optimize before, or to do a little optimization before just giving up on that product. That being said, you can always launch a second product as well, but I wouldn't give up, especially if this is just your first shipment, which I guess you said it was. Can you explain in depth how the Niche Hunter works? This is from Anna on YouTube. The Niche Hunter, what we've done is we have gathered a whole bunch of keywords, and we've taken each of those keywords, which are essentially niches or niches, if you think about it, and we've looked at roughly the top 10 products for that particular niche, and we've gauged like the overall demand, the overall competition, the overall like opportunity, and then we put it into the Niche Hunter, okay? So that's how it works. So how you use it is you sort through the different keywords or the different niches to look to see if that's the type of product that you'd be interested in selling or if you would be able to find a factory for that, okay? So yeah, the way you filter through the keywords or niches, or by using the filters at the top. So you could say, I only want a product that's selling at least 200 units a month on average, and I want something that is not very competitive, and yeah, some of those types of things. Alan on Facebook said, Greg, can good packaging design plus unique branding be enough to add value if a product spec cannot? Yes. Good packaging, unique branding is always good, and that's might be something that can differentiate yourself, you know, like on the pictures that you're using. At the end of the day, it's not going to be as high as impact, I don't think, as what actual product improvements will, but it's definitely like a good start. All right, Jose asked on YouTube, should I consider 5% of the selling price as PPC costs? And how long do you continue pay-per-click after launching? When I'm figuring out the price of a new, figuring out my profit margins of a new product, I use 5% as an estimate for all of my sales about what my total pay-per-click costs are going to be, okay? Now, that's an important thing to understand because your pay-per-click costs on an individual sale that's purchased after clicking on one of your ads is going to be more than 5%. That would be like the best ACoS ever. But, you know, keep in mind for every like one item that you sell using Amazon sponsored products, hopefully you sell a few more just like organically, all right? How long do you continue PPC after launching? I continuously use PPC as long as it's profitable and I'm making money by bidding on those terms, and I continue to do so. What happens to Jungle Scout when private label no longer exists? Cord Lopez on Facebook asked this. I don't foresee private label going away anytime in the future. Like, actually, this is like a fun thing to kind of think about, but you know, by private labeling, like what are we really doing? We are cutting out the middleman, which are these big, bloated, inefficient corporations, and we're replacing them with very lean companies or lean individuals like yourself or myself. And then how we're getting the products, you know, like from China and onto Amazon. Okay. So, and it's kind of like this new age of branding, you know, like it's this new age of kind of like internet brands. And I think like, so what we'll see over time is like, this is kind of like the future of retail in the US is like these internet brands that are, you know, are primarily bought off like price and reviews and some of the branding, and gone are the days of these kind of like very like bloated, inefficient corporations that have built these like 100-year-old brands, but the prices are marked up a lot because of like their inefficiencies, and we're not getting a lot of value anymore just from that brand. So, yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a different, could be a different topic, but yeah, there's no end in sight. So, you know, I'll probably need a new job in 20 years anyway, but in the meantime, we'll just continue on with Jungle Scout. All right. Hyundai says, hey, Greg, I have 2 questions. In the Jungle Scout website, the sales estimator tool, when I pick Italy as a marketplace, there is no pet supplies option. Is there a particular reason for this? So with each marketplace on the Jungle Scout estimator tool, the categories are in like the native language. So maybe you're just kind of like translating that for me since I don't know Italian. Or yeah, maybe we missed it. I don't know. We'll have to look at it. But the idea is to have all the categories in that particular marketplace to be listed there, which I think they are, because I haven't heard that from anyone else. Considering the differences in marketplaces, do you have any advice or tips for the first-time sellers in Italy like me? My advice to you as far as marketplaces go is to sell in whatever marketplace seems the least intimidating or the easiest for you to sell in. So if you live in Italy, then the Italian marketplace is probably going to seem the least intimidating, and that's what I'd probably sell in. All right. On Facebook, Maria says, why there are so many people giving away products in exchange of reviews on Amazon does nothing about it. I've reported 2 sellers and listings are still up. What's happening with the bad reviews from some competitors? I honestly don't know. It doesn't seem like to me like this is a very widespread problem. Maybe I'm just kind of like not in the know, or about some secret stuff that I don't, but it doesn't really seem like a major problem anymore to me. Like after they made that change, I think a lot of people were kind of still doing it for a little while, but I think most people have really cleaned up their act, which I would definitely recommend. Michelle on YouTube said, are people allowed to purchase my private label products and resell them under my own listing as new? Do I need to send letters of cease and desist? They sell them higher price than mine. So what has probably happened here is there's really 2 things here. It's a possibility that this is like a counterfeit product, that it's not really your brand. It's just a very similar product that someone else is listing on your listing. Or option 2 is they purchase your product maybe at a discount through a lightning sale or with a coupon or whatever else, and now they're trying to sell this on your listing. So you can try to send them a message and threaten them with like a cease and desist to get them taken down. At the end of the day, it's usually not that big of a deal. Like you said, the price is higher than yours. So like the only time that's really going to sell is if like you run out of stock, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because they didn't take a sale away from you and they kind of like kept your BSR up a little. But most of these aren't worth worrying about. On Facebook, Anastasia said, I have a question, please. I have 2 products on Amazon. They can go perfect as a variation together. Not sure what is better, to keep them separate or add both as a single listing with variations. For one product, I'm on a first page. Second product is second page. What would you recommend? Good question, because there's benefits of both of these, right? If you have them on the same listing as 2 variations, then they all share the same reviews, and like the sales of both of those both go towards like improving your overall rank, right? So I would say in a relatively competitive niche, I would prefer to have both of the variations on the same listing, all right? In a niche that's not very competitive, I would prefer to take up more real estate because I know I can probably rank both of those like without many reviews and without many sales. So yeah. Augusto says, hello, Greg. I love your work. I love the work that you've done. I would like to ask, what is the best way to receive a review on a new product during lunch? It's very hard with 0 reviews. Augusto, you need sales to get reviews. It's as simple as that, okay? So the 2 best ways to get sales on a brand new product are through aggressive PPC spend on Amazon's platform and through giving away coupons. Of course, I use Jump Send to give away coupons, but if you know a different way, you could of course do that as well. And what you'll find is just through these sales and through these additional sales, you'll start to get reviews. All right. On YouTube, Really Cool Coffee says, how should I figure in pricing with concerns for storage at Amazon? Good question. The storage fees on Amazon, if you're going through all your inventory within, let's say, 60 days, are relatively negligible, with the exception of the 4th quarter. So to be honest with you, if you're a brand new seller and you're like just trying to launch your first product, I probably wouldn't even figure in storage fees. Just try to factor in like that you want to sell through all your inventory within like 2 months. And if you do that, you'll see storage fees, with the exception of 4th quarter, are fairly negligible. Since we're just at the end of February right now, it's, if you're launching your first product, you'll be able to kind of figure all that out over the course of the next few months. And then you'll be able to kind of calculate that better for Q4 when storage fees are higher. That would be my advice for you. What do you think about price points ending in like 0.07 or 0.03 or 0.97, 0.93, blah, 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 etc.? Some say it's an incredible impact on their conversion rate. From most of the split tests that I've seen, just changing the last value doesn't have an incredible impact on the conversion rate. I think typically when people tell you that, it's because they haven't really reached statistical significance like on their tests, or they just like changed it and then they looked at their conversion rate the next few days and it was better, but that was probably just like of chance. If you're interested in testing it, I would recommend checking out Splitly. It's an A/B testing tool for Amazon sellers. It lets you run true split tests to statistical significance, which is just a fancy word for saying that it's mathematically true. All right. But you can test it, but I personally would recommend just testing like the larger price, as in $23 to $24 or $23 to $20, or your main image. Those are going to be the highest impact ones. Cheryl on YouTube said, what quantity would you order as your initial first order? I would recommend trying to order 3 months worth of inventory for your initial order. All right. So I would estimate what I was going to sell based off what my competitors, let's say in the top 10 or top 20 spots, were selling, and then estimate that of how many I was going to sell over the course of 3 months. All right. The reason I say that is it typically takes about 1 month. So like after you place an order, assuming this is from a factory in China, it takes 1 month for them to like run your product approximately. Some factories are a little bit faster, most are a little bit slower. Approximately 1 month to run your product through their production line. If you're shipping by ocean, it really takes another month. So that means 2 months from the day you place your order to the day it arrives, like in the States or wherever you live. And then, so that means you only have 1 month to sell before you have to place another reorder. So but at the same time, like you don't want to order too many when it's like you're just launching your product. So I always recommend ordering 3 months worth of inventory. On Really Cool Coffee, they said, can I search by the opportunity score? In the Jungle Scout web app, so it's different than the Jungle Scout extension. The Jungle Scout web app, which is a different product, lets you filter by opportunity score for the niche hunter, okay? So there's like 10 million or 20 million or whatever niches in there, and it lets you filter by the opportunity score. Are there categories that are dominated by Chinese companies that should be avoided? I've heard of teams on these companies that just send bad reviews. Good question. Like when you're reading like the Facebook groups or whatever else, there's like, you read kind of like, or like Reddit or something, there's like, like people just tell like horror stories, or it's like the place to go that people like voice their concerns or problems. And I think as a result of that, it seems like some of these things are very widespread problems, when in reality, like they're not. I have like over 100 SKUs on Amazon, and like I've never had a product that I feel like there's Chinese companies that are sending a bunch of bad reviews my way. To be completely honest with you, I think a lot of people, take a lot of pride in the products that they launch. So like when they get one bad review, they're like, oh, this was just from my competitor or whatever else. And in reality, it's like, well, it might have been a legit bad review too. So I wouldn't stay away from any particular categories. And to be honest with you, I don't think this is a widespread problem. Nivs Bling on YouTube said, would it be a good idea to drop ship from another platform as opposed to getting the item manufactured and holding all the inventory, then using seller fulfilled Prime? You could try to do that if you wanted. To me, this seems kind of like one of those like, kind of like hacky type things that like isn't really like building like a true like system to generate you money, which is what a real business is. So, I mean, you could try it, but I recommend just like, if I'm going to invest all like that time and effort into starting something, I'd prefer to start like what's more of like a real legitimate business. Bitcoin on YouTube says, hey, Greg, how do you go about starting a software company? For example, costs. People I need to hire to get this going. Is there a good site to read how to go about creating my software? Good question. I can tell by your question that you have quite a bit of research to do. As far as a good site to read about creating software, my favorite resource for someone trying to bootstrap, so like self-fund a software company, it's a podcast called Startups for the Rest of Us. It's hosted by Rob Walling, the founder of Drip, which is an email software tool that he self-funded and started. So yeah, that's a great resource for it. What you're going to find is starting software is very expensive. And that's the reason that you always hear about software companies going out and raising like $1 million of seed money to get started, because good developers, which is what it takes to create good software, make good money. And it's very time consuming, right? So you have to pay a few people a lot of money for many months to create this. And that's the reason that most people, need like $500,000 to get started, or $1 million or whatever. So yeah, that's a little tip for you. Jose on YouTube said, JumpSend can work locally. I mean, in a European country, or is it for the USA? JumpSend has coupon deal sites or coupon communities for the US and the UK. We'll be expanding to more later, but for now, it's for those two marketplaces. All right, we have time for about 2 more questions. Morganti Cram said, did you need a CPC, so the CPSC's Children's Product Safety Commission certificate for the baby towels? This was a little bit of a gray area. Like baby toys definitely need the certificate. Like baby bottles or something definitely need the certificate. The towels were a little bit of a gray area, because it's like, this is a towel, like if it's marketed towards baby, does that make it a baby towel? Like, because adults could use this towel too. So it's a little bit of a gray area. Since we were in the public spotlight with this product and we wanted to make sure to do everything by the book, we did get that certificate. That being said, if we weren't launching this as part of the case study, I don't know for sure if I would have gotten it or not. I tried to do a bunch of research on this and there was no like perfect answer. So what it would come down to is probably your risk tolerance, whether or not you want to do that. I will tell you that I'm pretty sure like none of our competitors do have the CPSC, I think that's what the acronym is, certificate. However, we did choose to get it. Last question from Leanne Price on YouTube. How can I reverse engineer finding out why my competitors who have a larger BSR than me show up on the first page of search for keyword terms? Leanne, this is typically because Amazon believes that their product is more relevant for a particular search term than what yours is. So maybe they have that keyword search term in their title, or they're in a different subcategory that Amazon prefers over yours. That's typically what it is. It might also have to do if they have a better conversion rate or a lower price. Those are all the things I would look at why a competitor is outranking you, even though you have a better bestsellers rank. That is a wrap, guys. Before you leave, I want to remind you about a few things. One, please smash that like or love button on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're tuning into. Hit the subscribe button on Facebook if you haven't done so already. We are releasing new YouTube videos a couple times every single week. If you missed my announcement at the beginning, we are hiring. Who wouldn't want to work at Jungle Scout? junglescout.com/jobs. You can see all of the open job positions that we have. There's a whole bunch of them. If you would love to work with the best team on earth, then that's how you can do so. We have a few days left for accepting applicants to our new podcast, Go Pitch Win, Shark Tank style podcast, right? Where one of you guys are going to be pitching your product or business idea to myself and another judge. Between the two of us, we'll choose 1 out of 10 applicants to win a $10,000 gift for you to invest in your business. All right. And some other good news. Some people are asking about how our Jungle Slumber sleeping bags were doing. We've sold over 100 of them and they're doing pretty well. And I will see you guys in about a month from now for our next AMA in the Genius series, where we're talking about product launch. Thank you guys. It has been fun. I hope everybody has a great day. Take care.